right, so we got another video here today, and in this video what I have here is my top 15 fragrances that I really enjoy wearing the most right now. So most of these fragrances, obviously because of the time of the year, are going to be more sort of fresher scents. But you know, I really enjoy wearing these scents, especially during this time of the year, man. So just to get the list started off, I'm going to start off with Alexandria fragrances, and this is Alexandria fragrances Brasilia Cologne. So Brasilia Cologne, this is their take on Aventus Cologne, and it's a more sort of amped up, you know, on steroids type of version of Aventus Cologne. Definitely the overall scent, in my opinion, is a lot more amplified than what it is in Aventus Cologne. And I mean, if you're not familiar with how Aventus Cologne smells, it's to me, more lighter, slightly more kind of floral and more unisex take on like the Aventus DNA. So it's nowhere near as dark and as smoky as what the original Aventus is, or even what Absolute Aventus is. This doesn't have any sort of smokiness to it really at all. This is definitely a lot more kind of muskier, fruitier, more floral. I believe there's like a prominent rose note that's in, you know, Aventus Cologne. And just like I said, overall, it's a much more kind of like more unisex type of take on the scent profile. Now, to me, it does still definitely it doesn't smell like feminine leaning at all, in my opinion. But I could still see maybe some women still kind of gravitating towards this smell. Now, this does seem to be like the type of scent that, just like Aventus, I seem to get more compliments from other men, you know, wearing this fragrance than what I do, you know, women. But I don't think I've ever had a woman smell this that said that they didn't like the way that it smelled. All right. But yeah, man, overall, this is very good. The performance on it is way better than the original. So, I mean, in terms of the projection, this projects a lot stronger than Aventus Cologne, at least for about the first 3 hours or so. Like, this is really beast mode. And longevity wise, I easily get well over 12 hours every time I wear it. So again, man, if you're looking for a more lighter, fresher, muskier, fruitier take on the Aventus scent profile, I would definitely recommend, you know, checking out the Aventus Cologne scent profile. And obviously, if you're looking for a cheaper but, you know, stronger version of it, then definitely check out Brasilia Cologne from Alexandria Fragrances. All right, next one on the list, this is from Byredo, and this is Byredo's Bal D'Afrique. So Bal D'Afrique, this is a very like citrusy or fruity, you could say, fruity, earthy vetiver type of scent, but definitely it in my opinion, it has much more emphasis on kind of like the sweeter, fruitier aspects of that, you know, sort of spectrum. The vetiver definitely, it comes in, you know, later on in like the dry down, but it never like overtakes the fragrance and makes it like a super earthy smelling fragrance. Like, at least on my skin anyway, this always kind of smells like a fruity, you know, like a fruity, dry sort of vetiver type of scent. And the vetiver in this is not like super dirty or like super grassy or anything like that. It's just kind of like a dry, clean style vetiver that you get from this. And I really enjoy the black currant that you smell in the initial opening of this fragrance. Now, if you're looking for like a very like close but cheap alternative to this, then I know Paris Corner, they have like their interpretation of this fragrance. I want to say it's called something Vetiver Delight or something like that. That is also a very good interpretation of Bal D'Afrique. It, to me, is a little bit heavier though on the vetiver for sure than what the Byredo is. And also the black currant in the Paris Corner, doesn't smell as sweet and as rich as what the Bal D'Afrique does, but it's still very close. But yeah, man, I really love wearing Bal D'Afrique during this time of the year when, you know, it's warm outside. And this definitely performs pretty good on me as well, man. This lasts on me easily over 8 hours, and it does give pretty decent projection for at least like the first hour and a half to 2 hours. It really performs the best on me when it's like when I'm outside in the sun and it's really hot outside. Sometimes when I wear this one just kind of chilling inside the house and I'm not in sunlight, this can become, you know, very kind of like close to your skin. So you definitely want to be in the heat and have the heat kind of activate this scent to really get good performance out of it. But again, man, check out Bal D'Afrique from Byredo. Next on the list is from Eyenash, and this is Eyenash's L'Infinite. So L'Infinite is their take on L'Immensité from Louis Vuitton. Definitely the best L'Immensité interpretation, you know, that I've smelled so far. And it's, you know, why I have it in my collection, man. This is really, really nice. It's basically, it starts off with some citrus, some really nice herbs, like sweet herbs. It has like a very prominent, you know, ginger note in it as well. And then definitely as the fragrance starts to dry down, it does start to become, you know, more of a like a fresh ambery type of scent, basically. This does have like a slightly kind of like vintage 90s type of feel to it for sure. But overall, man, this scent profile, in my opinion, in 2025, it still works for sure. I love to wear this one during warmer weather. I still think that you could wear this one really any time of the year. But to me, this fragrance or this scent profile in general, it shines the best, you know, when it's warmer outside. That's when I tend to get the best projection out of it, as well as, you know, the best sort of longevity as well. Now, this isn't like an exact one-to-one to L'Immensité from Louis Vuitton, but like I said, it is the closest that I've smelled for sure. The herbs in L'Immensité are just ever so slightly a little bit more sweeter and richer. And I mean, just overall, I think the quality of the original L'Immensité is just slightly better, but this still is, you know, well over 90% close to the original. So I would say for the price that you pay for this one, which I believe is like around $70 for this 100 ml bottle, this is definitely the closest and the best interpretation of L'Immensité that I'll put my nose on. So again, man, definitely check out L'Infinite from Eyenash. Next on the list, this one is a discontinued fragrance from Creed, but it's a fragrance that I'm glad that I was able to get my hands on, especially for a reasonable price. And this one is Asian Green Tea from Creed. So, you know, like I mentioned in previous videos, I know a lot of people are not really that familiar with this scent. Maybe you've heard of it, but you just never smelled it. It's a really, really nice scent. And I mean, I do still feel like this can be worn in several different times of the year. I still think that, you know, warmer weather is the best time really to wear this one. Heat definitely activates this fragrance and keeps it going for sure. If you wear this fragrance in like the winter time, it's way too light and you won't really smell this after probably like 45 minutes to an hour. But yeah, man, wearing this in the heat is definitely the time to wear it for sure. This is basically, it's a very kind of like fruity, floral tea scent for the most part. You do get obviously green tea in this fragrance. You get a lot of different citruses in the opening, I believe like mandarin, lemon, maybe even some grapefruit, I'm not sure. But yeah, man, it's very, very citrusy in the opening, very citrusy and bright. Has like a slightly kind of tart feel to it. Definitely heavy on florals for sure, like white florals. You could say that it's slightly feminine leaning, but to me, this is a very unisex type of scent. I feel like if you're somebody who is willing to wear a scent like Pure White Cologne from Creed, then I think you should have no problem wearing something like Asian green tea. Not to say that the two smell, you know, the same or anything like that, but to me, they're kind of, you know, similar in certain ways, in my opinion, in terms of, you know, the type of freshness that they have, the way that they kind of come across. You know, to me, I think, again, if you're willing to wear like pure white cologne, then I do think that you could absolutely pull off Asian green tea. The performance on this, like I said, is definitely contingent on, you know, really the situation or the time that you wear this fragrance. I think as long as you're in a situation where your body heat is going to be, you know, elevated, this will definitely perform pretty well. You know, I've definitely gotten easily, you know, 8 hours with wearing this fragrance. Obviously, it kind of comes and goes, you know, as you kind of get whiffs of it, but this is definitely not a weak fragrance in terms of longevity. This is definitely a fragrance that moderately projects, you know, for the most part, you know, and then it does linger on your skin for quite a while, and it gets reactivated, you know, once you start to sweat and warm up. All right. So again, man, if you can find this for a decent price, you know, I would say anywhere from $100 to $200 or so, then this, in my opinion, is absolutely worth that price. If you're looking at more like 500 or more, to me, this is not worth that type of money at all. All right. So again, man, check out Asian green tea from Creed. All right, another tea scent on this list. This one is from Nishane, and this is Wulong Cha. And this is going to be a much more in-your-face, more beast mode type of tea scent than what something like, you know, Asian green tea is. Now, this uses oolong tea in terms of the tea that's used in this fragrance. It also does have a very sort of bright citrusy opening, just like Asian green tea, but this comes off a lot more aggressive. So to me, like, I'm pretty sure that this is still like marketed as like a unisex type of fragrance, but I feel like with how strong this comes across, most women, I think, would still kind of consider this like a masculine type of scent, especially in the initial opening blast. Like I said, this comes off very, very strong. It is very strong, very musky, very bright and citrusy, very floral. But yeah, man, it's like I said, it's very in your face and aggressive right from the start. And I mean, really, for like the first 2.5, 3 hours or so, this is a very, very strong scent. Whenever I wear this, I really don't need any more than like 4 to 5 sprays max of this fragrance, and that's enough to last me, you know, well over 12 hours. This is also an extrait de parfum, so, you know, that's definitely where you're getting, you know, that strength from, for sure. But this is, in my opinion, one of the more stronger Nishane scents that I've smelled. To my nose, like, it comes across sharper and stronger than what something like Hachivat does in the initial opening, for sure. But yeah, man, if you're into like tea, fig, you know, musk, some florals, some slight sort of spiciness as well. I believe this has like coriander and nutmeg in it. This is going to be up your alley for sure, man. And like I said, it's very long lasting, projects like a beast, and it's pretty affordable as well. I believe a 100 ml bottle of this can be had right now for like around 150 to 160 or so. So I think this 50 ml you could probably get for like around I would say probably 110 to 120 or so. So not the most expensive niche fragrance in the world, but it is a very high quality, really good smelling niche fragrance for sure. That's really, really good for the summertime, man. So definitely check out Nishane's Wulong Cha. All right, next on the list, this is actually another inspired fragrance. This is from French Avenue, and this is Vulcan Feu. So this is their take on God of Fire from Stefan Humbert Lucas. And this fragrance is very hyped up at the moment. So it's extremely hard to find. I'll have links in the description to where you can purchase all of these fragrances as long as they're, still available. The last that I saw was fragrancebuy.ca. Got these back in stock. I'm sure they're probably sold out again by now. But this is a very good interpretation of God of Fire. To me, it comes across a little bit more fizzier than what God of Fire does. It definitely, it has a little bit more lemon mixed in there along with the mango. So I mean, the God of Fire definitely comes off as the more sort of smoother, higher quality, more better blended fragrance. But for the price point that you pay for this, and what you get, I feel like it's very hard to beat. This fragrance goes for anywhere from about $40 to $50. This is a 100 ml bottle, whereas the God of Fire, I believe, is normally like a little bit over $200 for a 50 ml bottle. And again, obviously that fragrance is going to smell a little bit better than this, but this still comes 90+% close to, the original fragrance in terms of just the overall smell. And I really think that that's why this one is getting, so much hype. Like I said, it does have that slight difference where it does have a slightly more lemony smell. So it kind of makes it come across slightly, cheaper and lower quality smelling. But I do like the fact that this does have a little bit more ginger in it that, makes the fragrance come across a little bit more fizzier than what the original does. Performance on this is also very good as well, man. You're going to easily get over 8 hours with the Vulcan Feu. And in terms of the projection, very, very good projection over arm's length for about the first hour and a half to 2 hours. All right. So again, man, check out Vulcan Feu from French Avenue. Next on the list, this one is from Montclair, and this is Montclair's Sunrise Pour Homme. This is basically, like, in my opinion, like a signature scent, or I would say probably one of the best signature scents really that you could buy out there. Now, it to me depends on where you get this from. Now, I was able to get this one from Joma Shop for $70, and this is 100 ml. I've seen this go for, at least about $140 to $150 on most other websites. I don't think that this is necessarily worth $150. I definitely think that this is a much better buy at the $70 mark for the 100 ml. So as long as you can find this on like a discounter like Joma Shop for that price, this is like more than worth it for sure. It starts off very kind of like citrusy and fresh, but it has like this really nice kind of pink pepper freshness as well. So it's like pink pepper, bergamot. I believe there's some other sort of citruses in here as well, but those are the main ones really that kind of come across. And the bergamot in this is not like, it's not super like metallic and strong like, something like Dior Sauvage is. This is a little bit more juicier in my opinion. And I think maybe that's where the slight comparisons to Sauvage come from is, this starts off, kind of citrusy and slightly, peppery and fresh. This doesn't necessarily smell like Sauvage to me. It definitely is different. It's definitely not as like sharp and piercing as what Sauvage is. This is definitely going to be a lot more like creamier, juicier, and to me more floral for sure. More floral and kind of woodier. So, I think if you're someone who likes Sauvage, then you'll like this. And if you're someone who is, you know, maybe a little bit sick of wearing something like Sauvage, EDT, or EDP, and you're looking for something that's still going to be as mass appealing and, you know, as sort of fresh, then I think you would absolutely want to look at something like Moncler's Sunrise Pour Homme. Like I said, this is definitely signature scent worthy for sure. It's very fresh, clean, inoffensive, you know, citrusy, floral. It also almost kind of has like a slightly kind of, I don't know, like a prickly sort of feel to the fragrance, you know, if that kind of makes sense. This is really, really good, man. Initially, when I got the sample of the fragrance, I sprayed it on my hand and wasn't that impressed. But once I gave it a full wearing, this really, really smelled amazing. So I went ahead and picked up a bottle of it. Really, really good, man. I don't really see anyone disliking the way that this smells. And it's not as beast mode, you know, in terms of the projection as what like Sauvage EDT was. So, you know, for anyone who thought that Sauvage EDT was like really, really obnoxious, then, you know, I think that they would actually much prefer something like this. Again, I'm not saying that this smells, you know, like Sauvage at all. It does have maybe in some, you know, certain places, slight sort of similarities, but this is still a completely different scent. But I do think that, you know, people who like Sauvage will also definitely like Moncler's Sunrise Pour Homme. So definitely check this one out. All right, next on the list, this one is from Homme, and this is Club de Nuit Precieux, Precieux. So this is their take on Aventus, or Absolute Aventus from Creed. Really, really good interpretation. You know, it has, to me, the slightly more kind of richer and concentrated smell to it, especially with this being an extrait de parfum. The original from Creed is an eau de parfum. So it just has a slightly richer smell to it. It also comes across, at least in the opening, a little bit more fruitier than what Absolute Aventus comes across. So I really do like that. The pineapple is definitely more ripe and sweeter in this fragrance than what it is in the Absolute Aventus. And then as you kind of get to the dry down, Absolute Aventus definitely is the more kind of earthier and more mature smelling fragrance. This definitely, it kind of maintains like more of a sweeter, I guess you could say more youthful type of smell than what the Absolute Aventus does. I really do, you know, still love and enjoy the original Absolute Aventus for sure, but I do think that this is a very good interpretation of it. The projection and longevity is also better in this fragrance. So longevity wise, I typically get over 10 hours with this, and it projects at least twice as, you know, much as what the Absolute Aventus does for at least like the first 2+ hours or so. So really, really good on the performance. The only downside to this is I believe it's a 55 ml bottle, and it typically on most websites goes for at least like around $70 or so. I know when it first came out, it was closer to like 100, I believe, but now it's kind of come down to like around that $60 to $70 mark. Still a lot for this fragrance, but I do think that this is still a very solid interpretation. So again, man, check out Club de Nuit Precieux from Homme. All right, next one on the list. This is one of my newest pickups, and this is a fragrance that I was really, really curious about for years, really. And I would say there's a few reasons why I didn't pick it up. One was the cost of the fragrance. This was definitely more expensive, you know, when I first found out about it. And then also too, because of, I guess, listening to other people on the internet. A lot of people said how weak this fragrance was. They would say stuff like, you know, they couldn't smell it at all, even after they first sprayed it on. And it had no longevity, it had no projection. And I kind of listened to those people until I just finally went ahead and got a sample of the fragrance, wore it, and was really, really impressed by, you know, how good this smelled. So I went ahead and got a full bottle of it. And this is Pacific Rock Moss from Goldfield and Banks. So I initially found out about this fragrance, I think as most people did, through, what is her name? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on her name right now. Demi Rawling. I first found out about this fragrance through her channel. And, you know, she was raving about how good this smelled. But like I said, I kind of listened to or got influenced by listening to other people talk about their experience with this fragrance. And a lot of people were kind of giving this fragrance negative remarks, you know, especially again about like how it performed. And after, you know, spraying on even just a sample of this fragrance, this performed on me pretty good. I mean, in terms of the projection, I could absolutely smell this fragrance on me really good, actually, after spraying the fragrance on. Now, I don't know if this will have the same type of, feel or projection to it like in cooler weather. Probably not. But at least during this time of the year when it's, 80 plus degrees outside right now, I believe actually today it's about 100. This is one of those fragrances that you absolutely would want to reach for, man. This is really good. It's a very, it smells to me kind of like your, kind of like seaside pretty much, or like at like a beach, but you're kind of like high up on the rocks, and the waves are kind of rushing in, so you're getting like that really cool breeze that you get from like the wind blowing, the water rushing up against the rocks. You do kind of get like a slightly mossy, seaweedy type of smell from this, but it's not as strong and as prominent as something like Megamare is from Orto Parisi. This is definitely a much more kind of like mass appealing, aquatic, mossy, floral type of scent, in my opinion. And it's just, in my opinion, it's a very easy to wear, very mass appealing, long lasting scent. So far with wearing this fragrance, like I said, the projection on me has actually been quite good. The sprayer on this is also pretty good as well. It shoots out like almost like a fire hydrant. So it shoots out a lot of juice when you spray it. And I mean, the last time I wore this, I think I sprayed it on about 6 times or so. And I mean, I got like at least 7.5 hours or so total longevity. And it really, really projected really strongly for at least like the first hour and a half, 2 hours or so. So this is not a weak fragrance at all. It's, in my opinion, it's one of the better pickups that I've been able to get here this year. And I really, really love this fragrance. I'll be wearing this one a lot this summer. So again, check out Goldfield and Banks Pacific Rock Moss. All right, next on the list, this one is one of the best from Lattafa, honestly, out of anything that they've released. And in my opinion, it is extremely close to the original. So this is Lattafa's Art of Universe. This is their take on Blue Talisman from Ex Nihilo. Starts off with a very, very sort of sweet, fruity opening. You get like some citruses and some pear with this. Then it starts to turn into a very kind of like fruity floral type of scent. Fruity, floral, musky. Overall, man, it's a very, very nice scent. This fragrance is not as refined as what the Ex Nihilo is, but I feel like for a $50 fragrance, this still punches well above its weight. And it is a very good alternative for someone who just doesn't have the means to go out and spend, $300 on the original. The original is good, but I feel like once you get past probably like the first, 20 to 30 minutes of this fragrance and, Blue Talisman, the differences to me don't constitute the price difference, between the two fragrances, at least in my opinion anyway. The opening, Yeah, I definitely could see how maybe some people would want the original for that, but the opening only lasts for like the first few minutes, and then it starts to dry down. The dry down is that's really the part that you're going to be smelling most of the time, and when I smelled this, side by side with the original in the dry down, it really became hard to, kind of distinguish between the two after, like probably the first 30 minutes to an hour or so. Like they were very hard to distinguish between. So if you're into really high performing fruity floral types of fragrances, that give you good longevity and projection as well, then I would absolutely recommend picking up Art of Universe. This is going to last you over 10 hours. And in terms of the projection, it's going to give you very good projection for at least about the first 2.5 to 3 hours or so. So again, man, check out Lattafa's Art of Universe. All right, so another really brand new pickup that I have here is another one from French Avenue. And this is, I believe it's the newest within the sort of aromatics collaboration that they have. And this one is French Avenue's Platine Blanc. So Platine Blanc, at least from what I'm seeing, is supposed to be a Xerjoff Torino 21 interpretation. Now, I just ordered the sample of Torino 21 today. So more than likely, if I'm lucky, I might have that probably by about Saturday. If not, then it'll definitely be sometime next week. But so far, man, I'm really liking really every aromatics fragrance that I've tried so far. Obviously, I haven't smelled the Carnal Desire, and that's mainly because the note breakdown on that one is just, it's not something that I would buy a full bottle of. I would say that for sure. But yeah, man, I mean, this fragrance, I think so far is probably my favorite one out of all of the aromatics fragrances that I've smelled. Obviously Royal Taboo, that was my first one, and that one was very good, but it wasn't as good of an interpretation of Centaurus that the Rayhan Crimson was, in my opinion. It was definitely smooth, but it was a lot more kind of woodier, in my opinion, and it didn't have as much of like that cinnamon spice that what Centaurus has. This comes off very like bright, citrusy, and it has like that kind of gin and tonic type of feel to it. Really good, man. Very minty. Like I said, very like citrusy. It smells like the citrus in this is like a lime, I would say, probably. So like lime, citrus, a boozy kind of or alcoholic gin and tonic type of smell. Extremely minty, but also at the same time very kind of fresh. A slight kind of like green aspect to the fragrance also. Like this to me is, I would say, perfect for like this time of the year, like late spring, early summer, or even like the late summer. This is definitely a fragrance that I intend to wear, a lot over the next few months for sure. So far, I don't really have much else to really say about this one. I do want to, compare this one side by side with the original fragrance. But yeah, man, so far I'm really liking this one. Like I said, it's very minty, very kind of alcoholic, very citrusy and fresh. And just overall, it's a very nice scent, man. It really is. So it seems like, he knows what to pick when it comes to, these French Avenue collaborations that he's doing with them, and they all seem to come out smelling extremely high quality. So that's really all you can ask for when it comes to these fragrances. It's not like he's pushing or hyping up crap. These fragrances do smell pretty good. So Definitely, if you are able to find this, I know yesterday, I believe, when I looked on the Oud store, which is where I bought this from, they were already sold out of this. So, you know, if you can find this anywhere else, I would say definitely pick it up. But so far, man, I'm absolutely impressed with this. So absolutely check out French Avenue's Platine Blanc. All right, next one on the list. This one is from Ahmed Al-Maghribi, and this is Ahmed Al-Maghribi's Azure Royal. So this was a little hard to find for a little while. The last time I checked on Meteore, which was, I believe, yesterday or the day before, it appeared that Salim actually has these back in stock now. So if you were looking for Azure Royal and couldn't find it, it is back on Meteore. I haven't seen a Miri back on there yet, unfortunately. I don't know what's going on with a Miri. But yeah, man, Azure Royal is, in my opinion, it's one of the better sort of, you know, warm weather types of scents. Now, I know a lot of people kind of compare the scent of this to like Blue Talisman. To be honest with you, I don't understand where that comparison comes from, because at least in my opinion, it doesn't smell anything like Blue Talisman. You know, it definitely, it does share like a opening sort of pear note that, you know, Blue Talisman also has as well. But I mean, overall, to me, the smell of this fragrance is just so much different than what Blue Talisman is. This is a lot more like lighter and more airy than what Blue Talisman is. And it also, to me, smells a lot more kind of like salty and aquatic smelling, and more Ambroxan heavy than what Blue Talisman does. Blue Talisman is a much more like thicker, denser, more like floral type of scent. And I mean, this does still have a lot of florals in it, but the way that Blue Talisman comes across is it's a much denser, heavier scent than what Azure Royal is. Like I said, this is a very like light, airy, Ambroxan heavy, almost kind of salty and aquatic smelling type of scent, with a very kind of fruity undertone from the pear that you get in this. But yeah, man, this is, to me, it's a completely different scent altogether. To my knowledge, I don't really know that this is, you know, interpreting anything at all, really. But this is a very, very nice scent, man. If you're into really fresh, fruity, like I said, musky, floral types of scents, then this is definitely going to be up your alley. I do think that this is pretty unisex as well. So definitely I could see, you know, a man or a woman, you know, rocking this fragrance with no problem. But yeah, man, this is a very, very nice scent altogether. So performance on it is also pretty good as well. It is a very easy scent to kind of go nose blind to, but it does last a very long time, easily, you know, over 10 to 12 hours. So again, man, check out Ahmed Al-Maghribi's Azure Royal. Next one on the list, this one is my favorite fragrance altogether. You already know what that is. This one is Louis Vuitton's Imagination. So, you know, I try to wear this one whenever I can, really. But I would say during this time of the year, you know, like the spring through the summer for the most part, is my favorite time to wear this scent. And it's just because it's a very, you know, fresh, bright, clean, citrusy, slightly kind of spicy, you know, really calming sort of tea scent. It's just, overall, it's my favorite scent, man. I do definitely plan to get another scent as well, which is, you know, Meteore as well. I definitely plan to get that one, but this fragrance so far is, I think, out of all the Louis Vuitton fragrances that I've smelled, probably my favorite one, which is why I went ahead and got this one first. And it also, for a freshie, it lasts a pretty long time on me. Now, I have definitely smelled interpretations of this that project better than this fragrance does. or, you know, in most cases last just as long. But this fragrance overall, I mean, I feel like for the type of scent profile that this does have pretty good performance. So, I mean, typically whenever I wear this one, it lasts on my skin easily over 10 hours or so. And then, you know, projection wise, it is pretty good, especially during the warmer weather for like the first probably hour and a half or so. And then it does kind of dial back. But, you know, definitely if you wear it, I would say outside of like warmer weather, the projection on it is not going to be as strong. All right. So again, man, that one is Louis Vuitton's Imagination. All right, so the next one on the list, this is another Louis Vuitton fragrance. Now, I don't have a full bottle of this fragrance yet, but I've blown through, I don't know how many samples of this fragrance. And I do also have an interpretation of it, but to me, the original is definitely the best, obviously. And this one is Louis Vuitton's Meteore. All right, so I intend to at some point in time this year get a full bottle of Meteore. In my opinion, it's like one of the best sort of, you know, soapy, fresh, clean type of blue fragrances that are out there right now. You know, obviously you kind of get like a slightly soapy kind of fresh, clean type of feel from Imagination as well. But, you know, to me, the Meteore, it takes the soapiness to like another level. And like I said, it's just a very fresh, clean, inoffensive, you know, style of fragrance for sure. And, you know, initially when I first smelled Meteore, it was like, I wasn't like crazy about it, but I wasn't really that crazy about Imagination either the first time that I smelled it. I was like, you know, it smells okay. But, you know, I feel like a lot of these Louis Vuitton fragrances, like you really kind of have to wear them a few times before you can really judge them. And I think, you know, a lot of people, when they smell a lot of these Louis Vuitton fragrances, maybe they go into a Louis Vuitton boutique and they know that they really don't have any intention on really buying any of the fragrances because of, you know, how high in price they are. But they're just like, well, let me just see, you know, if these are worth it. And I feel like a lot of times when you just kind of like maybe smell a fragrance on a tester strip, or maybe you spray it on your hand or something like that, it doesn't necessarily give you like the full experience. And sometimes you can misjudge, you know, how good or bad a fragrance is when you're only smelling that fragrance in that type of setting, you know, again, either on a tester strip or just kind of spraying it on your hand. So like I said, Meteore, at first when I smelled it, it was just like, it's okay. But definitely as I've worn that fragrance, you know, more and more, it's definitely a fragrance that I can say that I definitely am starting to love more and more for sure. I definitely plan to get like the bigger 200 ml bottle of that, you know, if I do get it, because the way that Louis Vuitton does their pricing, they really kind of are, I would say, fucking people over with the pricing, because the 100 mls now are like $345, but then the 200 ml I think is only like, it's less than $100 more. I think it's like $450 or something like that for a 200 ml. So it's like, if you're gonna get a Louis Vuitton fragrance, especially one that you intend to wear a lot, I think it just makes more sense to buy the 200 ml. Obviously, you know, with taxes and everything, it's probably gonna run around 500, but that's just a better buy in my opinion. And again, man, I really, really enjoy Meteore. I think it's like a signature scent worthy type of scent, or like a dumb reach type of scent. And it's definitely one that has really like the ultimate versatility. I can't think of any situation where wearing Meteore wouldn't be appropriate, you know, whether it be, you know, a date, casual, upscale events, job interview, wearing it to work, wearing it on a plane, you know, it doesn't matter. I think that's a fragrance really that you could wear basically anywhere. All right. So Again, that's Louis Vuitton's Meteore. All right, and then the last one on the list, this is another Louis Vuitton inspired fragrance, and this one is from Maison Alhambra, and this is John Lowe Vibe from Maison Alhambra. So just their take on Louis Vuitton's Pacific Chill. At least about 90% close. Doesn't have as much complexity or depth or richness that the original Louis Vuitton has. But for a $30 100 ml bottle of this, I feel like this gets you closer to Pacific Chill than what really a lot of the other interpretations that are out there get you. And this costs less than really all of them. This, to me, in the dry down smells better than the much more expensive Alexandria Pacific Coast. It smells better just overall than the Luciano version. I believe that one is, what is it? I can't remember what, I think it might be something Breeze, Pacific Breeze, something like that. It's better than that one. To me, it's overall just better than Penis White as well. In terms of how close it comes to the original Pacific Chill. This is just, it's a very, very good interpretation for like a $30 fragrance. The performance on it is about average. Like every time I wear it, I get probably about 6.5 to 7 hours or so. So, it's not like a super beast mode performing scent, but neither is the original Pacific Chill really. But yeah, man, this is a very good interpretation. I mean, I feel like the citruses, they definitely come across a little bit sweeter and more, again, complex in the original Pacific Chill. This does, to me, smell slightly kind of more like watered down than what Pacific Chill does. But again, this is extremely good. I feel like it really gets that bright citrus or tropical citrus, you could say, with the apricot, the carrot seed. Definitely kind of gives you like a green sort of smell to it. And just, overall, it's to me the best sort of value pick that you could, pick up when it comes to a Pacific Chill interpretation. So again, man, I plan to wear this one a lot this summer. And again, this one is John Lowe Vibe from Maison Alhambra. All right, man, so that is the list. That is my list of my top 15 fragrances that I really enjoy wearing the most right now during this time of the year. Let me know what you all think about the list. Also, I'll have, again, links in the description to where you can actually pick all of these fragrances up if you're interested. And also, if you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. And again, that's Jamar from Vegas Scents. I'll see you all in the next video.